I'm Colin B. Bailey, the Katharine J. Rayner Director of the Morgan Library and Museum. We're looking at Pierre-Auguste Renoir's study for the Great Bathers, a large work in red and white chalks made around 1885 to 1886. Unusually for Renoir, there are many preparatory drawings for the Great Bathers, around 20 or 25. This undertaking that is, for him, so important, what he calls his œuvre maîtresse, or his masterwork. Pierre-Auguste Renoir was one of the 7 founding Impressionists, which is really one of the most beloved movements in the history of modern art. It was a way of painting directly, in bright colors, without halftones, taking subjects from everyday life. This was a style that revolutionized art, but in the 1880s, many of these founding Impressionists began to rethink their practice. And so what we're seeing now in this drawing is what's sometimes called a return to classicism in Renoir's art, a manner of drawing, of subject matter that was more eternal. In the middle of the 1880s, Renoir decides to make a large, colorful painting of 3 nude bathers sitting on the banks of the Seine with a couple of their friends behind them in the water on a resplendent summer's afternoon, a subject that he would certainly have painted as an Impressionist, but now created with more rigor, structure, and line. The Great Bathers was shown in the spring of 1887, and it confounded some of Renoir's great friends and allies because it seemed to be going in a completely new direction. And in fact, we have Renoir writing to a friend just before he works on this painting, "I'm going to knock Raphael off his pedestal." He thinks of himself as returning to that great tradition. So the drawing is wove paper that is laid over canvas. You can really feel the pressure of his hand, the way some of the chalks are applied with real vigor, and what areas he's still not altogether sure about. That, in a way, is the practice, the preparation of the artist at work, and that's where drawings can be so illuminating. So Renoir's been an Impressionist for a decade. As he turns 40 or so, he has something perhaps of a midlife crisis, and he decides he doesn't know how to paint or to draw anymore. He goes to Rome, he studies the masters, he comes back, and then around this time he decides to make a large drawing of nude bathers in the classical tradition, but in a modern idiom. It is the first time, but not the last, in Renoir's long career that he will work on such a scale on paper. This is a drawing focusing on 2 of the 3 largest figures. It's done primarily in red chalk, and then he is using white pastel around the girls to highlight the body. We see 2 young Parisians. One is resting, and she seems to be gesturing in a little bit of fright, as if something is about to come to her. The other young woman, who is more statuesque and less expressive, is looking down at her. The seated girl has long eyelashes, a little ring on her right finger, but the figure in the middle, because it is less worked up, seems in some ways a little less naturalistic. And that, in a way, is a sort of signal of how Renoir's drawings and paintings of the nude will develop in his later years. But we're also seeing changes and, in a way, false starts even here. How many left arms does this seated figure have? She initially had an arm that went up here. She has one that's going down and one that's coming out. What is thrilling to us is that this is the first time that it has really been seen in a public museum. Renoir held on to this drawing for 20 years or so. He was working on it as he would a painting, not a sketch or a watercolor. And so for him, it is a really significant exercise. When we think of Renoir, we think primarily of painting. We don't really think much of him as a man who makes drawings in various media. The Morgan Library collects drawings from the very earliest times in medieval Europe to artists working in drawing today. And for us, this is a way of seeing the artists at work. My hope is that for the people that love Renoir's paintings and his pastels, this is a different take on one of the leading Impressionist artists. We feel the radiance, we feel the color, we feel the light, and that is what he can accomplish in red and white.